What's up, guys? Welcome back. I'm Coach B. This is my second video in the Chalk Talk with Coach B series, where I'll be trying to simplify and break down some terminology commonly used in the markets, along with trading strategies, technical analysis, day trading, among other things. If you have any ideas for future videos, comments, or questions about this video, or even something else you'd like to hear about, leave me a comment below and I'll get right on it. Also, please don't forget to hit the like button and also subscribe to this channel if you're enjoying the content. Okay, so this is going to be a follow-up to a video I actually just made about naked short selling, and I think it's a good transition. I figured I'd make this the next topic, being FTDs, or failure to delivers. But before we get into FTDs, I think it's better to first understand what a clearinghouse is and the role it has in the market. So basically, everybody's trading through a broker, right? Retail. So I trade through Schwab, so we'll use Schwab as an example. Schwab might have hundreds of thousands of customers, if not more than that, all trading the same stock in the same day. Some customers might be buying, some customers might be selling, and every single time one of those transactions take place, Schwab isn't actually sending those shares or receiving those shares as soon as it takes place. What they do is they take the net differential and then either give it to a clearinghouse or receive it from a clearinghouse. So let me back up a second. Let's say there's one stock, okay, a particular stock, and of all the Schwab customers today, there's 100,000 shares worth of sales and then 50,000 shares worth of buys between all the customers, right? 100,000 shares, 50,000 buys. Well, there's a net differential there of 50,000 sells. Okay, so that means at the end of the day now, Schwab needs to go deliver 50,000 shares to the clearinghouse. Okay, and it doesn't have to be at the end of the day, but they got to go deliver these shares to the clearinghouse. And now the clearinghouse has those 50,000 shares, and there's going to be another broker somewhere out there, let's just say Fidelity, who ends up with a net differential of 50,000 buys. So now the clearinghouse is going to take those 50,000 shares from Schwab, give them to Fidelity, and that's basically their function in this whole thing, is getting the shares, receiving shares, giving them to someone else, and making sure that all these shares end up where they're supposed to be. Same thing happens with options expiration dates, right? So if someone sells an options contract and all of a sudden that contract gets exercised, they now owe 100 shares to the buyer. We could make a whole nother video on that, but basically, now the writer of that contract owes 100 shares. So they'll deliver those shares to the clearinghouse, and the clearinghouse will go deliver the 100 shares to whoever's broker, it's sitting at, that needs those 100 shares. That's what a clearinghouse's function is in the simplest terms. So what's an FTD? An FTD, or a failure to deliver, is when the party that owes shares to the clearinghouse doesn't have the shares. Okay, and that's basically the simplest way I could put it. The most common times that you'll probably see FTDs is, one, in a naked short selling position, and we'll get into that right now. But if you watch my previous video, one of the other questions that I commonly get is, what requires someone who's naked shorting to cover if they're not actually borrowing shares? Like, why do they ever have to cover that short position? Well, the reason is, if they're selling those shares into the market, at the end of the day, they're going to have a net differential where they owe shares to the clearinghouse. Okay, and now the clearinghouse is going to be saying, hey, you sold shares that you were supposed to have borrowed from somebody, or that you supposedly owned. Where are my shares at? When they don't have the shares to give at the end of the day, that's a failure to deliver. In a regular short selling situation, they would have borrowed shares that they borrowed from whoever the lender was, and they would give those to the clearinghouse if that was their net differential at the end of the day. Okay, so that's one instance where a failure to deliver takes place. The second instance, like I said, would be an options expiration. So you'll also have people who will sell naked options calls. It could be one explanation for it. So in the same manner, if I'm selling a call and all of a sudden somebody exercises that call and I don't actually own the shares to give them, okay, that would be like naked call writing, which isn't illegal. But most institutions and hedge funds who take part in that practice usually will automatically hedge their options contracts through algorithms to make sure that they end up with these shares. But when you get into hard to borrow stocks and stocks where there's not a lot of shares out there on the market, or when you have a net position in a stock, sometimes they will not hedge those shares. And when that happens, again, failure to deliver. Okay, so when are they supposed to settle? When are they supposed to get to the clearinghouse? So basically what happens is most shares end up on a T+2 settlement cycle. T meaning the amount of days. So T2 means if today's Tuesday, your shares should make it to the clearinghouse and then back to the other broker within 2 days. That's what it should take to clear. um and that's the way it's supposed to work. But when you end up with a failure to deliver, for some crazy reason, bigger hedge funds, institutions, people like that, they're actually given what's called T21. So they're given 21 days to now come up with those shares that they failed to deliver on. Doesn't make sense why that retail has to come up with shares right away, or their account gets margin called or liquidated and things of that nature. But the bigger institutions and the big boys on Wall Street, they play by a different set of rules. And so they're not only do they not have the shares to deliver at the time of that the clearinghouse needs them, but then now they're given an additional 21 days to come up with them. And then there's market makers on the other hand who have a little bit more flexibility, and they're given up to 35 days. So if you've ever heard the term T35, same type of deal. I also did a video a while back that I'll link here in the end of this video, that basically gets into the whole T21, T35 thing a little bit more, but that's more how it pertained to GameStop. But either way, I hope that makes sense. I hope the term failure to deliver makes sense now. And how that works and who are they failing to deliver to. And, there's more manipulation that gets into this. Like, at the end of the 21-day cycle, you would imagine that they would have end up coming up with these shares that they were supposed to deliver, but that's not always the case because they're able to figure out other ways to kick the can down the road through illegal manipulation tactics. So we'll get into that into another video. Hope this made sense. Hope you enjoyed it. And again, if you're liking the videos, leave a comment down below and I'll try to, or give me an idea for another topic. Anything you got a question about, I'll figure it out if I can. If not, I'll talk to someone who can explain it to me and I'll try to break it down in simpler terms to you. All right. Also, don't forget to check me out in the mornings. I stream every day, 6 o'clock on the West Coast. That's a half hour before the market opens. Answer questions like this and also follow some of the top stocks that I'm into. Have a good evening.